Welcome back to the Interact Post. Today, Article 18 will include us going over and discussing leaks related to Genshin, specifically 4.6 banners that we're going over, as well as the Arlecchino Weapon info and new 4.6 artifact sets. Like always, all the info we have found you can find yourself. We are not beta testers and have no inside information. We will be using various sources that everyone does have access to, so go ahead and take a peek for yourselves. Now with all that out of the way, onto the video. The first speculation we want to go into and talk about is obviously looking at the biggest thing, which is the 4.6 possible banners of the characters on these banners. First looking at Arlecchino, Linny on the first half, and then having Farina and Sino on the second half. Now, what's really great about this, at least for me personally, is that seeing Arlecchino obviously is the only thing I really care about, but seeing Farina get a little bit of a quicker rerun is really nice. I know usually the Archons tend to get it during the 0.6 era, but I'm actually also genuinely surprised and happy to see Sino here as well get a rerun. I wasn't really expecting him, so he kind of came out of left field. But I feel like these are at least some pretty good characters. I'm not too much of a fan of Linny, but it's kind of cool to see both, two heavily good Pyro characters, Arlecchino and Linny on one half, and then seeing Farina and Sino on the second half. The only issue maybe, I don't know how extremely well Sino and Farina can work together, but I know that sounds like a really good Hyperbloom team to me initially, by throwing Nahida or just a Dendro in there. So I don't know, Rift, what are you thinking about these? Because these banners look great.
They do. These banners do look very great, and like you were saying, it's very exciting, and yeah, very fast rerun for Farina, but not just Farina. I think Sino wasn't he here as early as like 4.3, right before or even right after Navia and Ayaka? Wasn't that Ayato, wherever Ayato Sino was? I remember it was an Ayato Sino banner. That wasn't like too long ago. It might have been 4.1 even or something like that. And I think the reason we're seeing this quick resurfacing of characters that seem a lot sooner, I guess, is probably due to the fact of the new banner, right? We talked about that recently, and everyone's been talking about it, the Chronicled Wish, right? That might be the cause and effect to why we will start seeing characters run a lot sooner and quicker, and I think that is such a good positive thing, actually. So yeah, Ayato and Sino, we looked up just now, was in 4.3. So if Sino is going to be here, that's only 3 versions later that a character is being rerun. I think that's pretty insane, right? And Farina is only 4 versions later. So I think it's crazy. And like you're saying, very great banners. We got 2 Pyro DPS on the first half. So if you don't have either one of the characters, and you need a Pyro DPS, I think a good strategy would be going on the weapon banner, seeing which weapon you get, then just pull the designated character. If because like you can't go wrong doing that. Obviously, Arlecchino is probably going to be a little bit better than Linny, just based off what we've been seeing. She might break the ceiling in terms of damage for all the Pyro DPSs, but Linny's a great DPS as well on its own. So if you have their weapon, obviously they're going to do very well. And like you were talking about, Vixen, Sino and Farina can actually work very well together. I think one of Sino's best teams ever, like in the game right now, is Sino, Farina, Nahida, and Baiju. So definitely a great Hyperbloom team right there that I think is Sino's best team out there. And then Farina obviously is just an S tier support. She can be used anywhere on your account basically, and she's going to be really good.
I think it's kind of interesting to actually think about, because Linny's a little bit of a weird surprise to me. I would have expected someone like Risley actually to come up with a rerun before, just because Linny, I don't know. Personally, I just think that Risley would be there instead, but it has been a hot minute since Linny's been on the banner, if I do remember correctly. And then also in general, looking at someone that, like in 4.2, that alongside of Ayato, and then in the first half was Farina and Baiju. It's just weird to see that as well, to see how Sino is coming back very quickly. Going beyond looking at Arlecchino, just instead of just looking at all the banners, specifically looking at Arlecchino, actually we got a little bit more info on her polearm, because she's going to be a polearm character. She's going to scale off of attack, at least specifically this weapon, and it's going to be a black and red look to it, obviously helping to go along with her already similar dark colors that she has. It's a lot of black and red going on, as well as a lot of white and whatnot. But we don't really know if it's going to still continue to be like the sickle idea, which a lot of people are looking for, or like the scythe. but that is still, we'll tend to figure out what that happens. But we know it's at least a possibility now, obviously looking at like the battle axe that Navia used, considering Navia uses a battle axe, but it's actually a claymore. So possibly with this polearm idea, by using a scythe, it'll kind of have the similar effect maybe. And then also just talking about in general, it doesn't seem like this polearm is going to be extremely usable on some other people. I know me and Rift were talking about this earlier, but some characters, that have other weapons that could work with some other characters, like, Hu Tao's Staff of Homa, Harangapaku Futsu, or, Mistblade or Reforged. There are some different weapons that can work on different characters and can be moved around instead of staying on one character. Whereas this weapon is a little bit more akin to someone like Baiju. Their specific weapon, like his weapon, Kokomi's weapon, are a little bit more tailored to them, they themselves. Like, that's it. So that is kind of an interesting feel. I don't know what you are maybe hoping for or expecting from the polearm Rift, but
honestly, if it's gonna be tailored specifically for her, it's just like, I think we can expect it to be just like an absolute insane upgrade to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like what we see in Nervalette. Having Nervalette, like, his weapon is such an increase in damage for him. I feel like it's gonna be like that, right? If it's gonna be very specific, and maybe like versus the C1. Because you'll see people put videos out on, should you pull the C1 of this character or their weapon, like which one is going to be better in terms of stat wise and just performance wise. So hopefully the weapon's probably going to be just like really, really good to have. And if you're pulling Arlecchino, you might want to consider going after the weapon.
Looking beyond Arlecchino and the actual characters, looking at 4.6 and the artifact sets actually specifically, the first set that we're going to get, we always get usually like 2 sets when new sets come out. We're going to get the domain with one that's specifically meant for Arlecchino. Most likely, I'm thinking this one is going to be focused on possibly overload, or possibly helping, skill or burst damage or something, along those lines. But I think it's going to be kind of like how Vermilion Hereafter is very heavily focused to be used for Zhao, and some other sets that are very tailored to one to a few very, very select few characters. I don't feel like this specific artifact set is really going to be focused on too many other people, but the other set is a Dendro artifact set that people are believing it to be focused for burning, and talking about the 4.8 character Emily to actually use this set.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for these sets, and I actually, just like you, Vixen, I hope that the set for Arlecchino does have something to do specifically with overload. That would probably, that would be the first time we have an artifact set that specifically deals with, and yeah, I know there's Crimson that does state that increasing overload damage, but I mean something more intricate than that, to where it's like very, very heavily like only used on overload stuff, right? So, and the reason I'm excited for that is not just to see a new interesting artifact set for someone like Arlecchino, but I'd be very interested to try out myself on someone like Chevreuse, right? Or these other overload teams that you can mix match with other Pyro and Electro characters. I think it would definitely be fun to experiment with stuff like that, right? And then also the Dendro set, that I think maybe for some people, I know for me it came out of left field, because no one talks too much about using burning, right? Because it's usually it's not like crazy. Usually the only time you hear people talk about the burn reaction is whenever you're trying to do burn melt teams, maybe like with Ganyu and stuff, so you're getting consistent melts more than usual if you were just doing a traditional melt team. So that's the only instance I hear people talk about burning. But to hear about this artifact set might make teams where they're specifically built for just burning, so you only have Pyro and Dendro in the team, right? And I know people have done that before. I'm just talking about making it actually a lot more viable to maybe even see in the Abyss. So that'd be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to something like that.
Going on to the next speculation, we're going to be talking about the Mummy Girl, or the Goth Girl, whatever you want to call her, in that specific release that's going to be happening in 4.6 actually, as the new 4-star character. And looking at, specifically the quote-unquote Mummy Girl, a lot of people believe her name's Ivka or Ikfa, I forgot which one it is, but basically people are going to believe that that's going to be coming alongside of the second part of Sino's story quest. So keep that in mind, as well as a possible expansion to the desert region, which makes a little bit more sense considering the whole, if we're jumping back to the idea of between those two nations, then maybe that might be making a little bit more normality there. But also, you know, there's still that huge block of area in between Fontaine and Sumeru. Now, also looking at Dahlia, a character who's probably going to be released in 4.8 as a 4-star character, talking about her actually being released during the Golden Apple Archipelago Island area during that event that usually happens every summer. So seeing, you know, some extra characters being jumped in there. I know these are obviously the 4 stars Rift, and might as well give you the floor to take and run with them as you please.
Oh yeah, no, I'm so excited for the 4 stars. Of course, as you know, that's what I usually target, even over 5 stars. So I can't wait for 4.6. We're both very excited because you're gonna get your long-awaited Arlecchino, right? I can't wait for Ikva. I am so pumped. I've been waiting so long, ever since we first heard about her. She's gonna be so fun, so fun. I could go on and on, but then also there's Dahlia. So
going on to the next speculation as well, talking about the Pyro Archon situation, and this is more or less just really want to quickly go over a little bit more of a clarification over what had happened previously. A lot of people were talking about there being 2 different Pyro Archons, you know, a current one and then a future, you know, Pyro Archon, or actually people were talking about a current one and a past one. But unlike other areas, it seems like there's actually going to be a current Pyro Archon and then a future Pyro Archon. Now, during this time period, we could see, I don't know, some changes in 4.6 to 4.7 or whatever, you know, with, you know, changes in what we see in a Dainslift quest or what we see in the actual, you know, story quest and what's happening there. You know, we could maybe get some ideas and some knowledge about the current Pyro Archon dying all of a sudden, and we didn't even get there yet, and then all of a sudden by the time we get to, you know, Natlan, the new Pyro Archon has been only reigning for, in our brains, only a few versions. The interesting thing here is though that the new Pyro Archon has, you know, white skin, red hair, and a character model resembling characters like Farina, kind of like that type of idea, the middle like female model, whereas Murata, the original, you know, current Pyro Archon, who might die in some sort of huge gloriful battle. I don't even know what she's gonna happen to her, but she's probably going to be depicted as like a tan skin character with white hair and a character model that's more similar to Jean, and, you know, maybe some red talents in there considering she is the Pyro Archon.
So in other words, what everyone asked for.
Exactly. What everybody wanted was Murata, and then the new Pyro Archon is what everybody was afraid of happening.
And of course they're going to kill her, yeah.
So obviously they're going to kill her off just to, I don't know, upset us. But basically at this point, we don't really know if any of this is true, so take this with a huge grain of salt. Personally, I don't see this as really happening. I still see Murata being the Archon, at least the entirety of what we are going to be doing, or I don't see them doing another double Pyro Archon type idea. I know that we've gotten a lot of leaks about it, but personally, I see us just having one. I'm not really sure if they're going to, you know, keep playing the whole idea of double Pyro Archons. It just seems like, or double Archons, it kind of just seems like a repeat of the previous ones. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Rift.
Yeah, no, I would agree. You know, already having the whole Ruka Devata Nahida, right? Or Kusanali, for lore's sake. And then you have Fossil or Farina. It's nice. Like, those are great stories. Those are very cool. But to also see it again, like, I kind of just want a refresher, something that's just different. So I would agree with that. So I hope that Murata is the Archon and remains to be the Archon type thing. But, you know, it's still a ways out. You know, we're only about to go into 4.5, you know, so there's still 3 whole versions after this, so we'll see what happens.
Well, that's everything we have for this week on the Interact post. If you guys do like the content so far and have liked and subscribed as well, please go ahead and do so. And if you also would like to go ahead and join our Discord, you can go ahead and do so in the link in the description. That's everything we have for this week, so we'll see you guys in the next one.